How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, I look like shit. I'm absolutely knackered. The time is now 12:57 a.m. So Sunday morning now. It's been a long, busy week, guys. I've done loads of interviews. I've done a photo shoot just yesterday down at Strangeways. I've done another interview today. I've got a radio interview to do tomorrow on the story that I'm about to read you as well. I've spoken to a prisoner's family who tragically lost their loved one to natural causes that medical negligence seems to have attributed to that prisoner's death. God bless him, may he rest in peace. I've been speaking to my prison contacts, a prisoner's girlfriend and another friend from Manchester who's got someone in the prison. And crazy as it sounds, I've been feeding information to the family about circumstances of that night where he died, from people within the prison, prisoners' girlfriends, and a subscriber from Manchester, Brandon and stuff. So yeah, I'm also speaking to a prisoner's mother. She lives in Germany. Her son's currently in Berwyn. He's got a heart problem. He had 4 strokes whilst in custody. He doesn't get out till August. She's coming over to the UK to live. She's not got much money behind her. She's got nowhere to live. So I'm trying to help her through contacts of mine in that regard. I give a lot, what I'm saying, guys, in a nutshell, I give my time to a lot of people. I don't get paid for anything I do. I'm not trying to get paid for whatever I do. But I don't take time for myself, and it's sort of, I feel like I'm running on empty right now. But anyway, guys, enough about that. Let's do the story, and then I'm going to do my overview at the end, as I always do. Very interested to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this particular story. Link in the description below, like I always do. The story's in The Guardian. Headline reads, jail terms of 6 months or less could be scrapped, prison minister suggests. Rory Stewart says move could ease pressure on prison population, which has more than doubled since 1990s. Jail sentences of 6 months or less for most crimes could be scrapped to alleviate pressure on the system, the prisons minister has suggested. Some 30,000 criminals per year in England and Wales, including burglars and most shoplifters, could be spared jail under the proposal, the Daily Telegraph reported. Exceptions would be made for violent or sex offenders, Rory Stewart told the paper. Stewart said the move would ease pressure on prisons and that very short jail terms were long enough to damage you and not long enough to heal you. You bring somebody in for 3 or 4 weeks, they lose their house, their job, their family, their reputation, he said. They come into prison, they meet a lot of interesting characters, to put it politely, and then you whap them onto the streets again. The public is safer if we have good community sentence, and it will relieve a lot of pressure on the prisons. Since the early 1990s, the prison population has doubled, rising from around 40,000 to more than 80,000 in 2018. I think it fluctuates between about 83,000 to about 86. More than half of the 86,275 offenders sentenced to immediate custody in England and Wales in 2017 were handed sentences of 6 months or less, according to a parliamentary response from Stewart to Shadow Justice Secretary Richard Burgon last month. A Ministry of Justice spokeswoman said, as we have said previously, short sentences are often too ineffective, provide little opportunity to rehabilitate offenders, and lead to unacceptable high rates of reoffending. That's why we are exploring the potential alternatives, but this work is ongoing and we have reached no conclusions at this time. Now, short, sweet, to the point. Now, like I say, this has raised many of debate and stuff like that through, how it goes, guys, right? You get people like people that like are clued up and stuff, people like the Prison Reform Trust, the Howard League for Penal Reform, prison reform campaigners, people like myself as well, that are actually informed and have been in prison or worked in and around prisons and know the score. Then you get the ignorant that are on the goody two-shoes, the whiter than white people, the people that want to lock us up and throw away the key. They want to brutalise prisoners at every opportunity. The fed misconceptions around prisoners and about what prison actually is, i.e., I think a lot of people think that prisoners get Sky Television. I think they think that we all get a PlayStation when we get to the prison, like a PlayStation 4 or something. I think they think that we eat like Michelin star restaurant style food. I think that they think that we've just got the life of like luxury. And the media play a big part in fanning the flames of hatred towards prisoners and building up untrue misconceptions around what prison actually is. Then you get prisoners on the inside. I stick up for prisoners, guys. I'm an ex-con myself, as you know. And I stick up for prisoners. But when you get prisoners that are actively filming themselves and posting it on social media, they're not covering their faces, they're bragging, that they're doing drugs, they're openly flaunting what they've got in prison. That then plays into the hands of the media that then run these butlins with bars and cushy headlines and holiday camps and all that sort of stuff. And the reality is actually very, very different. I mean, prison's full of death, misery and despair, anger, frustration, mental health. The situation in prison is desperate, and it brings everyone to the knees at some point or other in their sentence. Short sentences, guys, are not productive. If you go to prison on a short sentence, you won't get any sentencing plan. So there's no courses that are given to you, there's no skills, no training. In a nutshell, you're locked behind your door and you're just left to rot. And like I say, that can come at the cost of a lot of things, right? Say, not everyone that goes to prison, guys, is like on the dole and thieving, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of prisoners that have worked prior to going into prison. And like I say, if you go into prison on a short sentence, number one, it's a minor offence. Do you know what I mean? It is a minor offence. That is reflected in the sentence. And like I say, you can lose your job, you can lose your accommodation. Not everyone lives in a family home where, I mean, the house is paid for and stuff like that. A lot of prisoners might live on their own. They've got no dependents. They might not even have a support network, i.e. like a family or friends. They lose their accommodation. The first 72 hours when you are in prison, that's where you're at highest risk of suicide or self-harm. Obviously, it can go on throughout the sentence as well, but that initial shock to the system when you are sent to prison for the first time, whether it be a long sentence, whether it be a short sentence, and that door closes behind you that first night, psychologically, you go through a lot of turmoil. And then, like I say, you might be in prison, you might get a Dear John letter from your missus. For those that don't know, a Dear John letter is a letter where your missus writes to you to tell you she's been having it her way with your mate, or she don't want to be with you anymore, or things like that, right? And that messes with a prisoner's head. And like I say, you've got to think of the domino effect of that. I've seen prisoners go to prison on short sentences and leave as addicts. People take drugs in prison for many different reasons, like I say, peer pressure, spite, coping mechanism. They was battling with addiction before they entered prison. So like I say, on a short sentence, you've got to think they could lose their house, their accommodation. So they could lose the job. The family connections could break down. The relationship could break down. The mental health is going to deteriorate. I tell you straight. Mental health in prison, it doesn't improve. It gets worse. And if you haven't already got a mental health issue, and a lot of them have, prisoners have, it makes them worse. And if you've not got them, it starts them. We're social people, we're social creatures and stuff. And like I say, people are going to say, well, don't commit crime then. Don't do what I'm sick of seeing is, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Now, like I say, what people need to remember on the right side of the tracks is that prison isn't there to respond to society's emotions. And these prisoners are going to be reintegrated back into society. What is the point in locking somebody up for a few months when according to statistics, it actually can cause the problem to be worse. Example, you go to prison, you lose your accommodation, you might then turn to drugs, right? When you leave the prison and you're kicked out with your £46, right? Not everyone ends up in a bail hostel or an halfway house. Not everyone's got a support network. A lot of prisoners leave, thousands of prisoners leave prison and go to the streets. So that person's gone from having a house and having a job, then they're in prison, the relationship breaks down, they pick up a drug addiction because it's a coping mechanism. They're then kicked out the door, they've lost their accommodation, they're on drugs, they're kicked out the door with £46. That addiction doesn't stop at the gate, it follows you out the door, right? You're an offender then, it's hard to get a job. Like I say, it's hard to get a job then because you've got to tick a box. Say you're in for theft, is anyone honestly going to give you a job if you got done for shoplifting or theft, a petty amount? No, they're not, because you're untrustworthy, you're an ex-offender. Then you've left the prison, you've got £46, you go and score some drugs, you start knocking around with homeless people on the streets, you start taking other drugs. How do you feed that habit? You've got to commit crime. So this is the thing, one misdemeanor, one minor offence can then lead on to much bigger offences and even a life of crime in many terms. Sometimes you get people that end up being sent to prison for the first time because they've been put on tag and they've just they might have fines and stuff, or even community orders, and then they've not adhered to it, and then they've been sent to prison then. But I've seen people go up on like a first charge and get jailed. What I can't grasp and what I can't seem to get my head around is that you'll have a priest that got caught with 600 images of children, sexually explicit pictures of children. He got a suspended sentence. I've been in prison with people that haven't paid parking fines and council tax. A non-aggressive, non-violent, like non-payment of fines, go to prison. By downloading 600 indecent images of children, some are with category A, which are the highest category, and you're in a position of trust, and a lot of these vicars and priests and stuff, like christen babies and stuff and touch them. And by downloading the images, they're actually fueling the supply and demand of these pictures for people to go out and to sexually abuse children and sodomize children. But then he doesn't go to prison. So, like I say, society, like I say, prison isn't there to respond to their emotions. And like I say, going to prison on a short sentence is counterproductive. You don't get any skills, training or education. So rehabilitation doesn't take place on long-term stretches, right? If you've been in 15 years, prison doesn't work. The longer you are in prison, the more criminal connections you make. That's whether you're on a short-term sentence or a long-term sentence. Like I say, for me as an ex-con, I would much rather have going down the tagging route, or let's have more faith in community payback orders, supervision orders as they're known. Go into probation, you might get 400 hours, 500 hours, whatever the case may be, carried out over a specific time. You might be working in a charity shop, you might be litter picking, do you know what I mean? Let's say you're litter picking, right? You've got a high-vis jacket on, a high-vis vest or something. People know why you're there. It's embarrassing. You're giving something back to the community. It keeps you out of prison, which is saving the taxpayer money, right? Do you know what I mean? It's a positive thing. And by doing so, what it would lead to is it would decrease the prison population. I think I've seen figures bandied around 4,000. It would reduce reoffending rates because prisoners that are sentenced to 6 months or less, 60% of them reoffend within the first 12 months. Like I say, you can actually germinate the problem and make the problem worse with fewer police on the streets. That's the last thing people want to do. So yeah, I'm far more down the tagging route, and like I say, community payback orders. It's embarrassing. You're giving something back to society. Yeah, that's the route I would personally go, and I'm far more productive, because sending you to prison on a short sentence is ineffective, pointless, and counterproductive. And that's as much as you can really say on the issue. I mean, like I say, what these people on the right side of the tracks need to remember is look at the bigger picture. If it's going to reduce reoffending and the reoffending rates, then, like I say, it's going to reflect better on the Ministry of Justice by decreasing the prison population. It will become more manageable to an extent. Prison is the last line of defence, and it's just when you've got to think of the court system, right? Prison, immediate custodial sentence is just one avenue. One avenue. There are others, like I say, conditional discharge, supervision orders, I mean, suspended sentences and stuff like that, right? But too many of these judges and stuff are just like, send them to prison, send them to prison, send them to prison. And then when they let paedophiles off that are harbouring thousands of images of children, it makes me believe that the judges, like, they're in on it. I know there's a lot of, like I say, conspiracies in and around government and paedophile rings, and I absolutely 1,000,000% buy into that. There's a story about a police officer that had 1,000, and his own police force swept it under the carpet, and I'm going to cover that in a vlog, guys. But like I say, people need to, sorry, I'm just knocking the table. People need to look at the long-term effects of it. Like I say, those on the right side of the tracks, to just send them to prison, it's a very short and very knee-jerk reaction. And like I say, it causes more harm than good in the long run. So actually listen to people, not me, because like I say, I'm not an expert on nothing, but listen to those that are in the know, that know what they're talking about, backed it up with statistics and stuff like that, and just, but like I say, too many of these people are short-sighted and just think, send them to prison, brutalise them and stuff like that, and I personally don't buy into it, guys. Prison should be the last resort. Unfortunately, you've got to think how lucrative the criminal justice system is in this country. A lot of people are getting fat and rich off prisoners suffering and crime and the reoffending and stuff like that. These private security companies, these private like prisons and stuff like that, It's a very, very, very lucrative field. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop talking. I've rambled on long enough. I'm tired. I'm sorry if it hasn't made sense. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Like I say, for me, the abolishing of a 6-month sentence and less, apart from obviously sexual offenders and violence, they're going to cut them free, or they're going to potentially look at bringing this in. It's already been announced in Scotland. It was announced last year, but they're bringing it in. No, sorry, earlier this week. Sorry, they're bringing it in next year. France did it last year. They've abolished sentences. I think 6 months definitely. I think 12 months. It's at anything between 6 months and 12 months is at the judge's discretion and stuff. Obviously, mitigating and aggravating circumstances in each case, and the circumstances will always be different. But we are. It's just, this country is just backwards, right? We're going to build more prisons, which is going to increase the prison population. But then they're talking about decreasing prison numbers by abolishing short sentences. Another way you can reduce the prison population: free IPP prisoners. They're over-tariffed, many of them, for theft and stuff like that, and then other things as well, obviously more serious offences as well. They're in the jail. There's no release date. Free them. Free them. Free them now. Abolish short sentences. And like I say, prison is just one avenue when it comes to courts. They should definitely have more faith, the courts, in, like I say, tagging, community orders and stuff like that. Definitely believe so. Nothing to be gained on a long sentence. You do courses, but a lot of prisoners do courses because it's about ticking a box. They don't want to do the course, but they might be coming up for HDC, or if they've been in long enough, they could be going before the parole board. And it's like, you play the game with OMU and probation and that, and yeah, I'll do my courses, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to do the courses. It's about ticking a box, because when you come up, you can say you've engaged. A lot of other prisoners do it for mental stimulation to get out of the cell. Some prisoners want to do it, but then once they leave and stuff, they don't actually carry on what they've actually been taught. If they have got skills training and education on a longer sentence, like I say, it's not applicable to prisoners on short sentences. No sentencing plan. Yeah, man. Systems as broken, guys, as those that are entering it. I genuinely do believe that. I hope that it brings in, like I say, for me, it should be 12 months and less before they get sent to prison. Like I say, there's no consistency within the court system. People that should go to prison don't go to prison. Those that shouldn't go to prison do go to prison. Like I say, council tax and non-payment of parking fines for a few weeks. What is to be gained by that? These people are clueless, man. Like I say, I think everyone thinks we get a PlayStation when we land at the prison. You've got to earn the right to buy a PlayStation. And like I say, PlayStation 2s and stuff like that. I've seen Xbox. I'm sure I've seen Xbox Ones though on some of these videos and stuff that are circulating online. Like I say, I'm not blowing the lads up. They're in the cells. They're openly there. But yeah, you've got to earn the right under the behavioural scheme of IEP to earn the right to buy those things. And they're often overpriced anyway. If you buy them from the catalogue, it's always overpriced, radios and whatnot. But yeah, guys, anyway, I'm just going to stop rambling on. Very interested to know your thoughts. I'm very tired. You can see my eyes, man. Honestly, got my eyes like pistols in the snow. My eyes are dropping. I've got to be up early to do this radio interview as well. Right, guys, thank you for all your subscriptions again. Like, comment, subscribe. If you press the bell, then obviously you'll get a notification when I go live or when I drop a video. Yeah, man. On that note, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.